Radox cries in a captive cage. Radox broken in the metal rain. Badox rises to rule the chain.
The mighty seeking power to seize. Struts of iron crushes through the night. Gorilla beam with laser sight. The mutants tremble in shadow's breath. Dogs and Radox roaring from death. Never fist class in the cosmic haze. Robot blood for the end of blaze. With the light. Symbol across the land. No
age. Golgola cries in a captive cage. Radox broken in the metal rain. Badox rises to rule the chain.